Welcome to the Lodge. You've accessed
the Lodgecast experience.
Warning, warning, dangerous spoilers ahead. Enjoy.
Welcome to another episode of the Lodgecast. With me, as always, is Brother Bishki.
Hey, guys.
And Brother Lucas.
Top of the evening to you.
And tonight we have a special, beautiful guest, the Lodge Mistress, Millie.
Yay.
Hey, y'all.
Thanks for coming back.
We are in her
Lady of the
Prius
Lodge.
tonight. What a treat and a treasure.
Yes, I'm very excited for the Lady of the Lodge to take this journey with us tonight because we need it. It's absolutely crucial to have the female perspective.
Absolutely.
She is wearing a necklace that is a sterling silver rib cage. It is very appropriate for the horror film we are about to see, which is titled Hereditary.
Hereditary.
Yes.
Hereditary.
Nice.
Not his Hereditary. What do we know about this movie other than that it is hyped as the scariest horror movie to come along since It Follows?
Oof, that's a bad comparison to hearken it to, because don't even go there. But I know,
I'm just talking about hype.
But all I know about the hype is that, yes, it's very scary. It was a Sundance film, I want to say, or a festival film that A24 picked up. And I've only allowed myself to see the first teaser. So I've stayed away from every bit of press or promotion since the first teaser. And that teaser got me hooked. Like, it gave me goosebumps, chills, thrills, and yeah, even some spills.
Well, and we know that dear old Toni Collette is in it. And
Yeah,
I'll be
she can do anything.
She's
a
good.
heavyweight. She's great.
I mean, she's so good. So I'm
Elevates everything.
pumped.
Yeah,
I agree.
Yeah. She's tough. She doesn't take material. She doesn't
That's what I
choose
think.
projects lightly. So this is good.
And speaking of the trailer, there's that article going around about in Australia, I think it was Peter Rabbit 2 or something. It was a kids movie, and they accidentally showed the trailer.
Oh, I did hear that. That was messed up.
And like
that
right away, the parents were like
freaking out.
like, crikey.
Yeah,
turn it off.
That's not fair. That would really mess me up if I was 5
If
or
you
4
were an
and
Australian
was expecting Peter Rabbit.
If you were an Australian parent, Millie, what would you say to the manager?
I'd be like, oh my God, I don't even know. I can't even believe that you screened that. It's crazy.
Yeah.
Perfect. That's good.
We have another guest that is going to join us at this movie who hasn't heard anything. He didn't even know, or she didn't even know about what it was when I said the title. So in the interest of keeping this individual clean as a whistle, they're just going to watch it with us and then join us on the other side.
Cool.
So we got a lot to compute. We got a lot to crunch. I think it's a 2-hour plus horror extravaganza.
Oh, really? Good.
And we're going to go get some cheesecake. We're going to, I think
have some family time, a family meal before the family film.
I think we're going to do, I'm at least going to do a cookie edible.
I am definitely hungry.
I might not be coherent on the back half of this.
Oh, don't worry, Lodge Master. You guide us. We'll follow your lead.
I will press record, and hopefully you angels will carry it the rest of the way.
Absolutely.
But yeah, I'm excited, guys.
Me too.
Yeah, let's do it.
We are in summer now.
Let's get fired up.
Kids
Glendale,
are
here we
cool.
come.
Yeah.
Let's open our eyes and ears and hearts and minds.
This is our first time also at the Glendale Galleria.
What?
Americana. Galleria's next door. This
Yeah.
is
For a podcast.
This is the new.
We are at the Americana, and it's going to be rowdy tonight. This is the first
It's gonna be
night.
ruckus.
This is the first night where kids are out of school.
Ooh,
They are ready. They are ready for tingles up and down their spine.
Yeah, no, it's good marketing. It looks scary. It looks scary.
Let's go get spooked,
Looks
y'all.
fun. Let's do it.
We'll see you guys on the
Let's
other
go in the
side.
house. Let's get in the house.
Cheesecake Factory!
We have reappeared. We have been reconjured. I think there's going to be a lot to talk about. But before we get things clicking and a clacking, Brother Bishke, what's the synopsis?
The official CNAP.
From the Rotten Tomatoes, when Ellen, the matriarch of the Graham family, passes away, her daughter's family begins to unravel cryptic and increasingly terrifying secrets about their ancestry. The more they discover, the more they find themselves trying to outrun the sinister fate they seem to have inherited. Making his feature debut, writer-director Ari Aster unleashes the nightmare vision of a domestic breakdown that exhibits the craft and precision of a nascent auteur, transforming a familial tragedy into something ominous and deeply disquieting, and pushing the horror movie into a chilling new terrain with its shattering portrait of heritage gone to hell.
That is a spicy.
Wow.
I don't think I've ever heard
That's
a synopsis
literary.
of that. Ever.
Yeah, that's like a short story.
Millie, you're shaking your head and you're getting a little flustered over there. What's going on?
You know, at one point in the film, and it was, I don't even know when, maybe an hour in, it got long.
Yeah.
But, I mean, I was like, oh, I might be giving this, is it 3 bones? Is it 3.5
Oh, you're thinking
bones?
bone. You got the bones on the
I
brain.
was thinking it on the brain, and then then it just went
Okay,
out.
all right.
Jesus.
All right.
And
Hold
when
on.
I was in the bathroom,
Whoa. Okay, we'll get to you. You overheard some chatter.
Yeah.
I overheard some chatter as well.
Yeah.
We'll convey the Americana.
Slice of Americana.
Some clucking.
It must be said that I think we've conjured an extra guest
Yes.
making his Lodgecast debut. Brother Papin, if you're in here, say something stupid.
I'm honored, nervous, excited to be here. Thank you.
It's pretty stupid.
Welcome.
Thank you.
We're happy to have you, and we're very curious to see, because you don't normally go to horror movies, is that right?
No, I don't normally go to horror movies. I save most of my horror watching for October.
And you didn't know anything about this. That's why we left
No.
you out of the intro, is because
Right.
I talked to you today, and you're like, what is that?
I do remember I did see a trailer once. I don't know when it was. It was before like A Quiet Place or something.
Right.
So there were some like weird subconscious deja vu moments in that movie.
Well,
for
the
me.
trailer, to its credit, was not very revealing of anything. It's
With
just
the
kind
exception of one shot.
one
But
shot
we'll
that,
get
you,
to
that you know
yeah.
is coming the entire time. But yeah, the basic plot, I mean, that synopsis kind of covers it. It's this family that's kind of always sniping at each other. It's in disarray. This girl who plays the daughter is a diamond in the rough.
Yeah, how weird was it when you first noticed she was like developed and had breasts, and I was like, wait a second, like, is she 5 or 50? Like,
Yeah,
I
'cause
wasn't
you-
sure.
yeah, you didn't know how old
You don't know
yeah,
that
You had
she-
no
that's
fucking
true.
idea how old
Yeah,
she was,
that's
and
true.
then later it's like, oh, she's a teenager, she's 13, and that really kind of clarified
Yeah, I guess I
her
wasn't
developmental growth or whatever, because she kind of looks like a
She
fetus,
could
like
play
a little,
5 to 50.
I
a
agree.
little
It's
fetal,
weird.
feral, like Gary Coleman kidney disease. Like,
I hope
who
she
knows?
has a long career playing 5 to 50.
And I think she might be older than her
Oh, yeah,
her
she's
13
young.
years, because I know that her IMDb scrubbed. Like, no one really knows her true age. So
Oh.
Bishke, were you going to comment on her development?
Well, I guess I didn't know her. Like when she's like, take your sister to the party. I'm like, what? Who takes their like elementary school
That's me
sister to
too.
the
Right.
party?
Yeah.
yeah, that was a deal
And-
breaker. That was a
and-
non-starter.
And then I was like, why isn't the teenager like being like, no, I don't want to take her to the party
Right.
and like all that.
But then it turns out she's 13.
But then I guess she's older.
They go to high school together, I think.
Yeah.
and-
She's a freshman. Her brother's a senior.
Yeah. I know there's a spoiler alert at the beginning of this, but you should just go see this movie. It's probably going to be the last big horror movie in a while that people are actually buzzed about. Just go see it. That said, she does crazy shit like cut a fucking bird's head off,
Which is
after
in the
it flies
trailer.
into the
Which
window.
is in the trailer.
Yeah.
So there were things that I remembered from the teaser that I was suddenly going, oh, I know we're okay, and then I was kind of
starts
like
getting connected.
waiting for some moments.
The movie is, the pace is very, how should I say, deliberate. I'd say pretty much throughout.
Very jarring. Like, the opening shot is this very kind of like creaky pan around this workshop, and
The mom's got a creepy art that she practices, which is miniature making. So she's made snippets of her life in miniature in these little houses that are around the house. The production design is out of control on this movie. Like,
Great. And really cool for like a visual way to revisit your
it's
past.
great. We get to know their family, we get to know their rhythm. Grandma's dead, which kind of kicks off the whole thing. They're wondering about how they feel about it. Nobody's really crying because it turns out like everybody kind of didn't like her.
Yeah, maybe.
Maybe it's a little it's a little ill-defined. So anyway, everybody's kind of grieving. There's a lot of grief in this film.
Yeah,
A lot of crying.
it really feels more like a psychodrama than
Yeah.
a proper horror movie, because at a certain point I felt the same as the Lady of the Lodge, where like I was like, oh wow, this could be great. This could be like 3 or 3.5 bones. But then I realized, oh, we're only going to stay kind of stuck in second gear, and I found myself more bored and like losing interest like as it went on, because there just weren't enough scares, or it just wasn't moving quickly enough.
It's taking its time. If someone's going to get out of bed and walk down the hallway, you're going to see their feet touch the ground. You're going to see
a lot of
them
shoe
walk
leather,
all the way
There's a lot
down
of
the
mood
hall.
and atmosphere. There's a lot of dread
It's
and,
true.
and tension with the score and
Score was
and
great.
The
Like
sound design.
everything came to play. It's a
Very rich, but
it's
yeah,
a shaky. It's a shaky dog.
But just narratively, dramatically, it doesn't really get going.
there
I
were
was
some-
constantly waiting for the movie to start, and I don't think it
I
ever
know,
really
it's
did until the
true.
final 5-10 minutes.
Because there was tons of setups of the miniatures.
There's so
and,
much. Like
and all these things, and I was like, and eventually I'm like, this is not all going to come into play. This is just all setup.
there's so much, because the movie it you feel the length, and it's setting so many little Rube Goldberg devices in motion.
There's a lot of setups.
Yeah.
And yeah, you do realize that there's no way it can cash all the checks it's writing, you know?
Yeah.
But let's break down some of these individual scenes, because as scenes, that's what this movie's going to be remembered for, is those moments where it does spike. And the first one, without a doubt,
Was a good one.
without a doubt, I would say, I would say this is the true Salad Dragon scene of the movie. Not just the scene, but like Salad Dragon's section. Because for like maybe 6, 7, 8 minutes, this movie had me by the balls. It could do anything it wanted to me. I was so in. It's when he takes his little sister to the party. You cut in on a girl. It's like a really fancy house. Like you imagine just like a shitty house party, but it's like a stylish, art-filled, minimalist house. It's a really interesting choice. And you see this knife chopping all these nuts up. So they've established that the little weird girl is allergic to nuts, like very obviously. So you clock that. She's eating a Hershey's bar at her grandma's funeral, and they're like, does that have nuts in it? Because
no.
It better not.
Because we don't have the EpiPen.
Doesn't
Right.
pay off later.
Make
Yeah,
it
it was
very
like
clear.
such a clunky bit of exposition.
But the nuts are getting cut, and I'm looking at the knife. So the nut, I'm like, oh no, knife. I'm not even looking at the nuts. She's putting nuts on the cake. Girl eats the cake. She starts choking. Her brother is busy getting stoned with the girl that he's macking on. She can't breathe. He gets her in the car. She's in the back seat. Pappin, what happens?
Yeah, what happens?
What happens, Pappins?
Well, she's seizing up and she can't breathe, and she gets outside the window and she's decapitated.
Her face slams into a telephone pole, and the entire theater just like chokes on their own spit at the same time. Like,
yeah, I covered my eyes at
it was
that.
great.
It was
It was
pretty
great.
brutal,
It
because I
was-
thought she was like 5 or 10. Like I didn't know how old she was, and
yeah.
it was rough.
And the son's reaction.
The son's reaction, they hold on him.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Priceless.
amazing.
Yeah, it's
This-
pretty priceless.
This actor is great.
He'll
at
get
playing
he'll get
scared.
nominated.
He
yeah,
he plays scared like nobody.
very
I've ever
palpable,
seen.
very
Oh my
real.
God.
Like you can
Throughout.
feel, you can feel the adrenaline. Like you
He-
can feel what pure fear or anxiety feels like. Like
From that
it's like
moment
a
on,
physical symptom. Like
He is scared for the entire movie.
yeah,
Like that's got to be exhausting.
My favorite detail was he just drives his sister home decapitated.
Yeah.
headless
and,
corpse.
and doesn't do anything with her body, just goes to sleep.
He's
This-
clearly in shock.
That's
Yeah,
why
he's
this
clearly
is
in shock.
It's like a suite that takes place, like a grief suite at this point.
Yeah.
That I was just so into. Like, because Toni Collette is committing
born to play that
all
role,
of her DNA to this.
Yeah.
And I saw her name in the producer. Like, she's involved.
She's
like,
invested. She took a chance on this guy. It's
and
the first
she
time.
needs it to work.
Yeah.
And I don't think the movie would be getting the buzz that it is if it was pretty much anybody else.
No, yeah, she really did a great job from start to finish. She had a lot of heavy lifting to do and a lot of different scenes.
She did, and the thing about him elongating scenes though is that you do get some amazing moments because he elongates weird moments, like when he's in the car and when he walks all the way up,
and it makes it unsettling.
Yeah, it makes it really
and sometimes
unsettling.
it works like there, and then other times it's just too long.
It's too much.
Yeah, it's just hurry up and get to the firework factory.
It's just too many scenes that are. I mean, you got to change it up. You can't have every scene be like a drone.
I agree.
Of just like,
I think,
and then it happens. Like
but during this,
50 scenes
during this amazing section where the daughter dies, the kid's just sitting in his car, crying, like slowly crying, going home, creeping into his bed, hearing his mom go out and find the body, like just like listening, and then seeing her like
just process it over a series of days, yeah, it's like real, like relatable kitchen sink melodrama. I mean, it's like intense.
It just donkey punches you in the throat, if that's even possible.
I think it gives a lot of people in the audience a very strong taste of what it might be like to lose an immediate family member for those of us who've not experienced such a loss, because I know I haven't. But yeah, like what the Lodge Master was saying, there's like a scene where Toni Collette's just like groveling on her bedroom floor, like just dry heaving,
what's the yoga pose, like
downward dog. She's not downward dog. Actually, she's in. Why am I looking at Pap? And I'm like, you know.
Yeah, Pap, in what position is it?
But no, it's just like
with between child's pose and out of child's pose.
Like her husband,
and
Gabriel Byrne, like just trying to console her, just totally impotent, and like she's just wailing, that she wants to die, and it's like, oh my god, that seems.
Ishki, do you have something to say about
relatable?
this?
I've seen this kind of mourning before.
Oh wow, he's not impressed.
In your 2 films of Naomi Watts, bawling on the floor, and different. I kind of thought Toni Collette was a little all over the place. I mean, she's going crazy, probably.
She's going crazy.
But
you're not impressed.
No, it's more of the storytelling that I was not impressed with.
Yeah.
It's not her not committing or anything like that.
Because I think personally, for me, the holy trinity of actresses right now, my wife, my goodly wife excluded, is Toni Collette, Tilda Swinton, Cate Blanchett.
Jessica Lange. I'm sorry.
Okay, you can put Jessica Lange as like the den mother.
Fine.
But you take all that power, like they can do anything. Any emotion is at their fingertips.
It's true.
And I really think Toni Collette, I mean, she's gonna get an Oscar nomination for this. It's so. You don't think so? It's so
in a horror movie. I don't know.
It's so showy, but
it's showy.
Get Out busted down the door for these quote unquote types of pictures.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Anyway, I thought that section was great. I think the head hitting the pole was the official Salad Dragon.
And
scene.
what's crazy about that sequence? No, it is the Salad Dragon scene / sequence.
There's runners up and there's honorable mentions.
Is like everything happens, like the whole thing happens, and then like there's a cut back in time, like a flashback to like the next day where it just cuts. It's like a hard cut to the poor young girl's severed head that is just covered in ants and bugs. And
that's the end of the sequence.
I mean,
for
it's
me.
like a button. It's like a stamp that like goes boom.
I didn't even think it needed a stamp, and then boom, they cut to.
Yeah, they're not going to shy away from it.
They cut to her fucking mangled fucking head on the ground.
And it looked real. Like it looked real. Like there's nothing CG about it.
Like to have that just punch your movie in the gut, like it shows that anything is possible at that point, which to me was the scariest point in the movie. I'm like, nothing is off limits right now.
Yeah, because I didn't think that girl was gonna die.
Nobody did.
No, me neither. I was very surprised by that, and that's like when the movie, I guess, kind of quote unquote starts. Is with the death of the daughter, but still, you're like only 30 minutes in, so you have like a long way.
A lot of psychodrama.
There's a lot of work to get to the good stuff.
Because here's my issue was that you have these very, like you said, deliberate, paced out, long extended shoe leather scenes, And then all of a sudden, boom, there's like this rush of exposition, there's like a rush of plot, and boom, we're moving on to the next thing. And all of a sudden it switches gears so hard, you're like, wait a second, like you're not building this right. Like doing like a marathon at like a half walk, and then you just break into a sprint for 5 feet or whatever, and then you go back to a walk, and it gives me this like whiplash. Like it's just herky-jerky like storytelling.
Let's do a Papin check.
Yeah, I was definitely full in, along for the ride. No whiplash, just roller coaster. I am loving it at these
Okay,
points.
all right. Wow.
Right.
I'm glad we did this
Yeah.
check. I'm glad we did this check-in.
I am on board, and I will continue to be on board for a lot longer, but I'll let you guys.
Okay, all right.
Yes, no one.
You'll let us tucker ourselves out?
So Toni Collette's character, after her mom and now her daughter have died relatively close to one another, she goes to like a grief counseling, like AA meeting. And again, the first time she goes, it's it's like melodrama. She's like talking about her life. And
She
it's
gets a juicy monologue.
It's the audition scene. Yeah, it's like a very good
The audition
scene.
where she auditioned for herself
And
and
then-
got the role
yeah.
miraculously.
That's why she probably did the movie.
Oh,
but
yeah.
but the second scene is she goes back, but before she goes inside, she's already like, had second thoughts. She doesn't want to like talk about it because it's too raw, it's too painful. We get it. She bumps into this genial, sweet old Anne Dowd of a lady.
Aunt
who is,
Lydia
like,
from Handmaid's Tale.
like the warmest maternal, like she could not be
And if
any
you've
nicer.
seen
Like your
Handmaid's
Ruth Gordon,
Tale-
like
Yeah.
Mrs. Castevet's, like
You know she's not cast to be
Right,
this sweet.
right.
like I just knew she was a good actor, so I was like, okay, like she's not gonna
She's
just
gonna
be,
figure in.
Yeah, she's not gonna just be like a thankless day player role, because she's above that now. Like she can actually like say no to these kinds of things. So I knew there was more to her character. And it very much was in that Rosemary's Baby kind of
She
next door
gets-
neighbor way.
She gets old Tony mixed in with the Seance game. And
No Ouija board, but a candle and an empty glass, and they have their own little ritual, but it's pretty much like a Ouija board.
like it was around this point where I was like, okay, you got to bring something new to the table. I feel like this has been seen, like the whole Seance conjuring. It's what is that? Insidious. I was gonna say insipid, but
Yeah, that's
Horror
correct.
movie.
Yeah.
it's Annabelle Origins, I think.
And it's always hard to do those scenes, to show the seances, because it's like so silly and it's never really scary. But
I thought it was
going back
I
to
thought
Toni,
this is fine.
but going back
Yeah,
to Toni
she's selling
Collette,
it.
she sells it so hard
Because she's flipping out.
because she's reacting the way I think any one of us would
Yeah.
if we felt like, oh shit, this is real. Like you would be panicking.
This
Like,
movie,
just pure
it's-
panic.
It's good at knowing, like, they're like, oh, there's a lot of skeptics, that were at this seance, and he proved them all wrong. Like, the movie knows what we're thinking and kind of derives humor from, like, Gabriel Byrne being like, what the fuck is going on? Like just little asides and looks, and like, is this really happening? I thought that was definitely done.
It was great. Yeah.
To me, the movie gets a little shapeless at this point.
Yeah, this is the Act 2 drag, where
It's like
not
kinda-
a lot happens. It doesn't really go anywhere.
Kind of wishy-washy. Like, they start to develop the history of the family too, and like there's a curse that's passed on. Like, what happens?
No, I think
She thinks that.
no, I think she thinks that,
that's
right?
not
But
the
that's not.
case.
But that's not the case.
Okay.
You're right. I think so. So basically, her fake friend Anne Dowd says you got to do a seance. You can talk to your dead, children and her mom or whatever, and it's a good thing. Like it's all positive
Yeah,
because it gives
she's
you
like
this,
euphoric.
Yeah, and at first I think Toni Collette, does the seance alone and contacts her dead daughter and is comforted by that fact. But when she brings her son and her husband into the mix, there's this like body possession where the spirit of her dead daughter like possesses Toni Collette, like possesses the mother.
And we should say that the little girl makes a clicking noise with her mouth. That's why we're all.
Yeah.
And
like-
it
and
got
that-
the theater going.
The theater was
Theater was clicking all over. I couldn't tell if it was a surround sound or if it was someone in
No.
the back, but there were some
Fell right
clucks,
into their
man.
trap.
Some clicks and clacks,
Yeah,
but
they-
I was looking over my shoulder at all times, like,
Yeah.
But it gets
where's that coming from?
But Lodge Master, it gets confusing because you're dealing with the actual plot, but then you've also got like this backstory that she's a sleepwalker and she's done some crazy shit herself, but you're not sure if it ties into like the other stuff.
There's
So
a lot. There's like
layers to the
there's
stuff. You got
sleepwalking. There's
Seances?
conjuring / seance / Ouija without the board.
There's family.
There's apparitions,
history
like-
of
There's apparitions.
schizophrenia.
There's Donnie Darko style
Yeah.
graphics that show you the way. What would you call those? Laser waves. And then they pack on, like, she finds an old photo album. She sees pictures of Ann Dowd with her now deceased mother, like really funny pictures.
Well,
of
yeah,
them,
well,
like, doing.
Bandits.
well, no, yeah, well, no. So at the beginning of the movie, one of the first Easter eggs is she's going through a box of her dead mom's things, Toni Collette, and there's a book called Notes on Spiritualization.
Sure.
And it's like, it's got this cryptic, like, note that's, like, written in it from somebody. And at the end of the movie, she goes back to that book. And they have, like, certain things highlighted that go by much too quickly. But one of the things is, like, a picture of a woman or a guy, a figure, sitting on an embarrassment of riches. And it says, like, riches to the conjurer. And then, like,
There's
finds,
a
like,
photo
there's,
of
like, a
her
photo
mom.
of her mom dressed, like, in a wedding dress. And they're, like, showering her with, like, those
With gold
chocolate
coins.
coins. And she's, like, super stoked, you know? So I'm thinking, okay.
I couldn't help but imagine the photo shoot, because those look like. Thank God they really took photos. Like, they photoshopped Ann Dowd into some of it, but there was a photo shoot.
Yeah. No, it looked real. But basically, what I inferred from that was that, like, there's a whole nother movie that happened before this movie started, which is, you know, her mom was clearly a witch.
Yeah.
All right, let's just say her mom was a witch, killed the husband. Like, Toni Collette's dad died when she was young. She had a brother who hung himself. I'm sure the mom had something to do with that as well. And the mom and her other witches, you know, they're like, you know, they're wanting to get the Antichrist back, essentially, into the form of a body. And I guess what happened was
Billy's checking out.
the first conjuring got the spirit into Charlie, which was the weird girl who lost her head, and it, like, wasn't working for them. So when, like, the grandma died of just old age or whatever illness, it was like unfinished business, where it was like, no, whatever the grandmother had vowed or promised, that was the curse that then was, like, following them in death, meaning, like, that's why Charlie wanted to cut, like, the bird's head off and got her head cut off. It gets weird, but...
Let's do a Pappin check.
So,
Pappin, do you know... Does this sound right?
at this point, are you guys not at all entertaining that she's psychotic and, like, making it up all in head?
Of
Well,
course.
yeah, well, no,
Okay.
that's a good point, because she mentions, she's like, oh, I had a brother who had schizophrenia, and I'm thinking,
Sure, but
like,
the
this
movie
is-
doesn't want anything to be just dismissed.
Right.
You know, like, it wants you to believe this alternate, spookier timeline as well. I just don't know what any of it means. Like, it's,
There was a moment
it's
where
jumbled.
Gabriel Byrne was like, what? It really felt where Toni Collette was really losing it.
Yeah.
And he was like, you're going crazy. Like, and I was like more along that line of explanation, but then.
Because there's a part where it almost feels like none of it's happening, or if it is happening, like, Toni Collette's the one responsible for it all, because she's not being able to process her grief, and so she's, like, coming up with this seance witch scenario to, like, make her peace with it or something. But I don't think it's that. I interpret it as it was all literal. Like, everything that was happening was actually happening.
That's what I chose to think.
But what's
Because of the
weird, did
ending.
anyone notice the last final shot of the movie before it cut to the credits? Did it not look like it was a dollhouse? Like, did it
Yes.
not look like...
Yeah,
Yes.
that's on purpose.
Well, there's miniatures throughout.
Yeah.
Right, but I
Oh.
didn't know if that was, like, trying to reveal something
saying,
to us.
saying
Like,
that maybe she had done that.
like,
So
yeah,
that's
like,
why you
this
think,
like, the whole thing was
I
just something
see.
she was making in her dolls or whatever.
Oh.
Pappin,
Yeah.
what do you think about all this?
No, that's definitely, I hear you guys trying to figure out the whole curse thing. And I'm like, oh, yeah, it all makes sense. But I was definitely investing most of my analysis in, like, oh, is she psychotic? Can this be explained as it's all in her head?
So you
And
were
that's
just
all-
on that track.
Oh, yeah, I
Okay.
was along for that route.
You weren't
which is
thinking
probably
about
where
the
they
curse.
wanted me to be, exactly where they wanted me to be.
Right.
But I feel like that's what I was trying to figure out.
I could imagine the
Can this be-
director's just like, the curse is just mumbo jumbo. It doesn't matter.
Yeah, because it was mumbo jumbo, and it didn't matter.
Yeah, so...
I mean,
So things progress. The movie finally starts, like, the shit starts hitting the fan when Toni Collette starts really going crazy and talking really fast. And it's just, It's just kind of a...
Yeah, it was mania. It was manic.
It's very manic. She's trying to burn this sketchbook that...
Very small book.
That the ghost of her daughter has drawn the face of her son with his eyes X'd out, which means he's going to die or something. Yeah. And so she tries to burn the book. She starts to light on fire. She's like, uh-oh. And then she tries to get Gabriel Byrne to burn the book.
To kill herself, right? It was,
to
like,
kill
herself. It was like a self-sacrifice.
So
she figured if she died, then yeah.
So
like,
she tells him he needs to burn the book for about 20 minutes. She says, "Burn the book. You got to burn it. Burn the book. Tell me you'll burn the book." My hands were editing. Like, my hands were moving and trying to
The audience was laughing. It was egregious.
The audience was...
It was rough.
tittering a little bit.
It was rough.
So she puts lighter fluid on it, and he won't do it. Gabriel Byrne has a very thankless role.
I know.
Yeah.
He's such a good guy.
Moment at the stoplight?
He had a good moment, too, at the dinner table, too. Like, he had a couple moments, but not enough.
It's not his...
It should have been like a different actor. That looked more like his son.
But anyway, he won't do it, so she tosses it in, and... Oh,
the second she does. The second she does.
We get the trailer shot.
We get the
Gabriel Byrne.
Oh,
and it's a digi-burn.
It's a bad digi-burn.
The first second...
Is this him digi? Yeah.
We don't need to see Gabriel Byrne's face in the flames. We can just see the
we get it.
of the stunt person.
It's
fine. It's creepier
wrong.
wide.
Yeah.
Don't do a digi-burn.
The wide looks good.
The wide looks great. The wide
digi
is
just takes
striking.
you out. The digi takes you out.
The digi-burn is bad news.
The digi-burn.
Pappin, were you cool with that?
I was still on board.
Okay, you're fine. You're fine.
Okay, so I didn't notice any of that. Yeah.
Okay.
I didn't really notice that either, but I know the long shot from the trailer, because I knew that shot was coming up, so I knew what was going to happen.
Yeah.
So that's something you don't put in the trailer, even if you got a shot that good.
You shouldn't, because it's so deep in the movie.
Bites it.
So deep in the movie. There's an honorable mention, Salad Dragon, fleeting moment where the son wakes up then, and it's just bonkers from there on out. He gets up in his room, and Toni Collette, out of focus behind him, just kind of flutters.
Flutters. All you see is a white blur of her shawl, like her bathrobe.
She floats
and
quickly through the air.
Creepy.
She floats quickly through the air.
It is legit creepy. And I think that was the creepiest moment in the entire film, because the entire audience was like, "Oh!"
And
it was bad. It was like, oh.
There was a sassy gentleman behind me who, upon seeing that, said, "Oh, she's up to something." But then he proceeded to laugh at his own comment. But I was like, yeah, you deserve that. That was fucking hilarious.
Dude, that was so good.
I will say this too: when she floated by, there was no music.
No,
right.
It was
that's what made it creepy.
That's what made it really spooky. Yeah, and it was so perfect because it was like you could just make it out, and it looked so real.
So
yeah,
is that?
And you guys, she was there in the left corner the entire scene. And that's why everybody in the theater was like weirding out. She was in there. She was not moving.
Man, I didn't notice that.
For like 2.5 minutes, and everyone was expecting something, and then it happened where she was.
Because to me, another good jump scare was at the very beginning, like right after her mom's funeral, where she comes home and she's turning lights off in her workshop, and she turns off a light.
There's a lot of creeping in the shadows.
And there's her dead mom standing against the wall in the dark, and you see you just see the faintest outline of her, and she turns the light on and she's gone, like she's not there.
And then when he's downstairs regarding his crispy father, he looks kind of over to the, I guess, pantry or the kitchen or something in the doorway, and you just see the faintest naked smiling man just smiling at him. And very, I wouldn't say scary, but...
No, it was scary. It was creepy.
No, it
was
unsettling. I'm saying this is an unsettling film.
It definitely was.
Yeah.
The whole movie is deeply unsettling.
So anyway, so she's flying around. Is this really happening? Take a poll here.
I mean, again, I'm interpreting all this literally. Like, so I'm literally thinking, like, wow, like his mom is now levitating.
Is she possessed at this point?
Sawing off her own head with piano wire.
Well, remember it went into her. It was like she was like, right after he got burning.
Yeah.
I'll just say I was not too on board at this point.
Yeah.
So anyway, she chases him. I thought it was really effective when she runs out, chases him, he runs up to the attic because that's where you go in a horror film.
Yeah, that was odd.
And you think she's just knocking on the attic floor door, but she's just banging her head super fast.
Like she's like climbing on the ceiling
great.
like a spider.
It was
you know?
great. It was
like,
very
it was scary.
Like
it was
shades
scary.
of Exorcist
Yeah.
and Reagan and crab walking and all that.
And it was like in camera effect, like it was shot upside down. Like
great.
it looked good. It looked good.
Yeah. And so who wants to take this on? Like, what
Papin
happens?
does.
Papin, what happened?
I don't necessarily want to explain what happened, but I will say that this is when I was
Fair
starting
enough.
to also
Fair enough.
not be on board. I was like, oh, okay, they're doing their thing. And I didn't really think about it until you guys brought up the last scene when it came out like that and was on purpose. Like, so now I'm kind of thinking like, did it really happen? I don't necessarily think so because I was subscribed to that. She's psychotic.
She's just crazy.
Yeah.
That's interesting. I mean, because I definitely go like, oh yeah, it was supernatural, but that's where I would rather go, I guess.
Right.
I do think it's like the total recall of. I think it's
Could be
perfect
either
in
way.
that way.
Yeah,
you can
you
get
can read
in
it
an
either
argument
way.
forever.
I just wish the lore was a little clearer. Like
Yeah.
I had 20 milligrams of a cookie dosed with marijuana, but I felt like I was lucid, as Toni Collette would say. I'm lucid.
I am lucid.
I was
damn it.
lucid, damn it. And I couldn't quite get a hold of what the fuck was the
It
deal
just-
was.
You know, for me, it didn't land. Like, they had so much cool stuff thematically, like staying within the family. And they brought it out to this witchcraft demon place.
Which was
and
so
ended there.
It was like a
and
step
it
too
did
far.
not
which wasn't
land.
good. Yeah, it felt
Was
like
that
a
the
different
girl's
movie.
head on like Christ's body or
I
something?
think it was the grandmother.
Or the grandmother?
No, that's the little girl's.
It was?
little girl's head.
Oh, it was the girl's head.
Yeah.
We're just gonna leave this ending scene vague. If you haven't seen it, you should see this movie just for the spectacle of it.
It's definitely a lot of callback to Rosemary's Baby.
Sure.
Like
Yeah.
on the nose.
I mean, it's a Hale, whatever
Why
his
do
name
we
is
need
at the
this
end.
Pale
demon
man.
thing?
It was overstuffed. Like it had style and creep factor to Byrne.
It's just the pacing of it. Like it really I was just like I was getting anxious just to like get to the scary parts, you know, because it's like you're waiting and you're waiting and you're waiting, and then finally it comes, but then it's like confusing, or you're like, wait a second, like what's happening?
Papin, what were you feeling about the pace?
I was on board.
Okay, all right.
No, yeah, and you guys are saying that it never landed for you, and I was definitely thinking that in the moment, but I do feel like it might be landing
Now?
retroactively or afterwards for me. I think it's growing on me a little bit more as I think about it.
Well,
Just
the
because-
tone is so strong. Like it has a vibe, you know.
Yeah.
Like I
Yeah.
feel like I was living in that house.
Yeah, it's got a lot of great
I can
moments. Because
smell it.
I'm thinking, you know what? Another moment that really touched me was when the son, after he's the death of his sister, he's like smoking a bowl under the bleachers, and he starts having like
yeah.
a panic attack.
That
And
was
he's
beautiful.
just like, yeah, hold my hand, just hold my hand, and he's like,
And then
his
it
friends,
cuts,
and then
yeah.
it just cuts, and it's like, oh my god,
With those
like
kind
that-
of cuts, like
like-
if you could cut out a scenes a little bit, like you can do it artfully and just fucking snip it. I don't know.
Yeah.
I just feel like
You could have
it's-
shaved 20 minutes out of that, I felt.
Yeah.
And it would have packed, I think, more dramatic punch at the very end. But
course.
by the time we get there, you're so fatigued because you're so spent, like emotionally
Yeah.
exhausted from all these
You've had
sad scenes.
You're connecting to shit like you might have done in your own family, and you're just like, oh my god, they're just having it out. Maybe that's just me.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like, okay, look, I like Papin's take on this where it's all in her head. And then
Right.
you're kind of like, okay, well, maybe she did some mythology around that symbol because no one else really saw the book but her. So, but the problem is, though, with that is that the kids saw demons and they saw the grandmother.
And they show us
saw
that,
the other-
right?
Yeah, so
Because it's not from the
that's
mom's
why
point of view.
exactly, it's
Yeah,
not from the mom's point of
so
view,
that's why I wasn't taking the schizophrenia thing, because they don't
Right.
really show
Right.
us
Right.
the.
But I like it a lot better if it's Papin's way.
So do I. I kind of
do
wish.
too.
Yeah, I kind of
Papin's
wish.
way.
I honestly, I
Coming to
swear to God,
theaters this
I was
fall.
waiting for like the end to be like her in a mental hospital in a
Right.
room full of dolls, and the entire movie we've just seen has been acted out in these little tiny.
Yeah, the miniatures needed to come in to play at the end more.
Yeah.
They could have easily
Because she started to do it because like after her daughter died, she made a diorama of the accident,
which looks great.
Which was really amazing. And there's another great moment where Gabriel Byrne is like, "What are you doing? Like you can't let our son see this." And she was like, "What? It's a neutral perspective." Which was
great.
Like,
it's great.
It was like, "Oh my god, this is amazing."
There's great stuff in there.
I think this is a good time to delve into what we overheard from the Americana Gentry.
Oh man! At the climax, when the son like jumped out the attic window and like fell face first into the planter, I guess before his dead sister possessed him, the guy behind me was like, "I would just get up, man. I would just run. I'd run like hell, man. I wouldn't stop running. I just run." It's like, all right, got it, man.
When the credits rolled, the sassy man behind me said, Joni Mitchell. And then we went out the exit, and I heard a group of male, maybe teens, I don't know anymore. He was saying, yeah, that wasn't much, that wasn't scary. And then his buddy was like, that wasn't scary at all. I was sleeping, and then I was like, huh, what? And then I went to sleep. And
sounds about right.
And then another young man said to his friend, I'm sorry, man. We should never watch that again. That was boring.
I also heard someone say, though, as they were walking out, like, hey, guys, like, I'm going to sleep in your room tonight, man. Like, I'm sorry or whatever. And they were like, nah. And it was like, I guess they're going to have a sleepover.
Got a better reaction than I went to A24's The Witch, or Witch?
The
Witch. Which that did at AMC Torrance did not get a good reaction at all.
Was that the period piece?
But I like that film a lot.
I love The Witch. And that was like one of my favorite movies.
But this film seemed to get a little better reaction because the scares were bigger.
I'm curious to see what the audience tomato meter is. So what did you overhear
and the cinema
in the
score
bathroom?
Well, I went into the bathroom and there was a girl just walking on the long line of stalls going, lazy writing.
Whoa.
Wow.
What?
Wow.
Were you sure it was?
I was positive because then they started talking about Paimon the demon, the eighth demon of
Were they
hell or
clicking with their
whatever.
mouths too?
They weren't clicking, but they were like,
That's
what
more
is
of
this
a-
Paimon demon?
They were pissed.
They were pissed. And they were young.
No, what's
Young
funny?
and pissed.
They were
Well, it's
young.
talking about writing.
That's why I was impressed.
Well, what's funny is
cool.
if I when I was walking out, I was thinking like this probably is not going to get a good cinema score because people are
I'm
going
guessing
in
B
expecting it
minus.
to be like way more intense, and then you're kind of like, oh wow, it's actually kind of sad, and like there are these moments where Toni Collette's sitting with Ann Dowd having tea, reliving the incident of smelling her daughter's corpse and then turning in the back seat and not seeing her head.
Teens
and like,
love that.
and like having to deal with it. And then there's like this
On
weird
a
moment.
Friday night?
And there's this weird moment
School just ended
where she
for
takes
the
like
summer?
a couple pills and she like sips it with like her tea, and then there's like a bit of tea in her mouth, and I'm thinking, okay, wow, that's like nuanced detail, but is this gonna come back later?
know,
like
me
I
too,
was like
Lucas.
waiting for her to get dizzy and like pass out, and her was like, "What'd you do
All
with
right,
the tea?"
we gotta go.
That was
We
it.
gotta go to the graveyard for the
Yeah.
bone count.
Bones time.
I think
Roll the bones.
we're gonna save Papin for a little bit here.
Yeah.
Lodge Mistress, ladies first.
You know, I'm gonna give it 2.5. There was a lot that was great there, and if you pulled me at a different point in the film, I would have given it higher score.
Sure.
But that ending drug it down for me. I mean, just the latter half of it.
The ending is an honorable mention for Salad Dragon.
And I did like seeing all the naked, slightly overweight people kind of ghosting about. I enjoyed
There you go.
that.
That's your teaser. Go see it. Bishki.
We got good direction
Uh-huh.
for a first-time director, good production design, and pretty well acted for what we have. But I thought it was kind of a witch's brew of horror cliches a little bit. A lot of drone, and tension, which initially got me like, this is going places, but eventually the drone became, this is not going places, this is
droned
droning on.
Yeah.
So I'm going to give it 1.5 bones.
No.
Sorry to say.
I think we might have a new bad boy. Brother Lucas.
No, I hear what Bishy's saying, but I'm with the Lady of the Lodge on this one, like through and through. We were in tune, even though we weren't sitting next to each other, because I started. I was like, ooh,
Easy, fella.
I was like, this could be like 3.5. Oh, maybe it could be 3, and then I was like, oh, this is dipping between
wilted.
2.5 and 2.
You wilted.
And I was hoping that when it ended, it would all kind of get tied together and reveal to us that she was schizophrenic and she wasn't processing the grief of her daughter's and her mother's death because it was so crazy. So she's like coming up with all this crazy shit to pin it on, and then eventually like it ends with her murdering her husband and blah blah blah. But they don't go that route, and instead they go the Rosemary's Baby route, and it's actual, like visual, iconography of the naked people and all that. Instead of an apartment, it's like a treehouse, and it's like the same exact ending, beat for beat. It was like, hey, what if Rosemary's Baby? What if instead of like a pregnant woman, it was someone grieving the death of a child? You know what I mean? It's like, just let's flip it on its head, but it kind of goes to the same place.
Let's knock its head off.
And I feel like it would have been way more powerful if it was just like that Shutter Island kind of like, no, she's just dealing with her shit this way. And you're like, God, I hope my family doesn't die gruesome or like horrible deaths or something. I don't know. Like, I just felt like they cheapened it or undercut by making it like Hail Palin. Payman.
That's your 2.5.
2.5 bones. Yeah, it's technically well made, but pretty standard. I didn't yell at the screen too much.
Brother Papin, the world waits with bated breath.
I am grateful of my ignorance.
Yes, you went in knowing nothing.
I knew nothing. I'm also a little bit more inexperienced when it comes to the horror genre. So, of course, I'm experiencing things for the first time that you guys might have already tread over a lot. So yeah, I was pretty into it. I'm also new to Bones, and I appreciate that you guys are all having the same thoughts in your head. 3.5, but I was like, I don't want to be like the new guy that comes and just like 4 bones, yeah. What does that
Drop a 4 bone.
What does that even mean? And I was like, okay, so
whatever's in your heart.
I got to start analyzing more. I got to start analyzing. But I will say, like, I really enjoyed it. Even now, when I did feel that the end was fizzling out for me, but like I said, I can think about it and I can be like, okay, what if it all was in her head? Like, what was up with that tea? What if that was her starting something? What if it was psychosis? Anyway, but now I think about it, I'm like, I can make excuses for it, so I'll just say 3 bones.
Nice.
Yeah, that's good. Very good. That's good.
Nice.
3 bones means,
Very good.
Good story, fine acting, decent return, investment. All right.
It's already aging for me, and it's aging well. Some of the issues I had are boiling away, and I'm left with these nightmarish moments, and I am left with a vibe that makes me feel a little bit of PTSD, like I was there. I feel like I was in the room when the burn took place. So I am unsettled. And as I told the lodge mistress going in, this is the first time I've been scared to see a movie in maybe forever. I ain't never scared. But this one I was like, oh shit, we might have something here. And yeah, I'm stuck with some of these shots. Like, I might be a little fucked up from this. Like, and that's great. That's great. You made me feel something, horror movie. I'm going to give you 3 bones for that.
Whoa.
Okay. Recommended.
All right. Well, we got there.
Yeah. We did it, fam.
We did a lot of chewing on this one. We
survived.
There was a lot going on, and I recommend if you're still listening and you haven't seen it yet. Again, we can't spoil the tone. Like, you have to feel it.
Yeah, it's indescribable. But
especially if you're within the Lodge family, you should really seek this out and contend with it, and preferably with an audience. Like, I feel like
that audience helped. That was a good audience.
You need that nervous.
That was electric audience.
Nervous energy.
Yeah, a lot of nervous people, a lot of scared people for sure.
Yeah. So that's Hereditary, folks. That's a wrap on the Americana.
Heard.
Mr. Papin, it was a pleasure.
Thank you,
pleasure having you. And
Papin's Way.
we're gonna have Papin's Way back again this summer. It's gonna hit you out of the blue. We'll dig deeper and figure out what tickles your fancy in other genres.
Love and light.
Love and light. Hail Palin.